Hello friends and welcome to yet another video from my series Quick Thoughts On, in which I talk about different stories from the Star Trek universe. It's Monday again, which means it's time for another video about the next episode of Star Trek Discovery, and it's going to be short and relatively without spoilers. If you live in the USA, you could see the last episode of Season 1 called Will You Take My Hand? Yesterday on CBS All Access, or if you live in most countries on the planet, you could see it today on Netflix. I have just finished watching it, and these are my honest opinions about it. This episode continues where the previous one left us, attacking on the Klingon homeworld of Kronos. I don't really want to talk about the plot itself to avoid as many spoilers as possible, so I'm just going to talk about a few things which I had a problem with. The Klingons still look like vampires and not like Klingons, and no explanation for it was given, despite the producers claiming that every question people have will be explained. Of course, it's just a makeup change, but I was secretly hoping they will give us an explanation, just like one of the episodes of Star Trek Enterprise gave us. I would be grateful for just a 2-sentence long explanation, but nope. I admire people who are able to ignore the design changes. I unfortunately can't. Maybe if I could accept them, I would like Discovery more. Maybe. While on Kronos, we see a few things which we definitely needed to see. Things like a pissing Klingon. We also can see Orions, but what the hell? Anytime we would see an Orion in the past, we have seen the women who were sexy, half-naked, and controlling the men using their sensual dance. Also, the men were really huge and muscular, so what do we see in this episode? All of the women are dressed up like they're nuns or something. Anytime we see a bit of skin, the camera immediately moves away. However, we see an almost naked male dancer. Why? And a very obviously gay male dancer. No, I don't have a problem with the fact that the dancer is clearly gay, but why does the Empress take him to her bed? Also, why is the Empress in bed with a gay man and one woman? Seriously, we have time for scenes like this, which, by the way, have nothing to do with the plot, but we don't have time for trying to explain why the Klingons look like that. Seriously, why couldn't they just show us on the planet some Klingons which look like TNG Klingons and a few who look like TOS Klingons? Giving a few extras some different makeup would visually say us that there are multiple kinds of Klingons, and I would be perfectly okay with really just a few extras in the background. There is a very special cameo by Mr. Clint Howard. Again, even he wasn't really necessary to the plot, but it was nice to see him there. In the case you don't know who Clint Howard is, he's the brother of actor turned director Ron Howard. And it's nice that he was in the first proper episode of classic Star Trek, and he's also in the last episode of the first season of the right now last Star Trek show. He was of course Baylock in TOS, a crazy man in Deep Space Nine, and a Ferengi in Enterprise, and now we have him as an Orion junkie. Neat. The episode suffers from something what I would call inconsistent characters. I'm talking again mainly about Michael Burnham. 2 episodes ago she saved Emperor Georgiou from the alternate universe, and in the previous episode everybody, including Michael, behaved like it was the best idea ever. But suddenly in this episode she behaves like she thinks it was a mistake. Similar things can be said about different characters, but the Burnham-Georgiou dynamics was the most notable example of this problem. In the previous episode they had a kind of a mother-daughter relationship. In this episode, which takes place immediately after the previous one, they behave like they hate each other. I don't really want to talk about details of the plot, but I must say one thing about the ending. They end on a cliffhanger. A cliffhanger which includes the USS Enterprise NCC 1701 under the command of Captain Christopher Pike. And I absolutely hate the fact that they simply had to redesign the Enterprise. They just had to redesign one of the most beautiful starships in science fiction history. It's just like the final FU to the part of the audience which, just like me, hates changes done only for the sake of doing changes. Don't get me wrong, it's nowhere as bad as the JJ Universe rebooted Enterprise, but again, the Enterprise is not something you should change. It doesn't need any changes. There is a reason why the original model is in the Smithsonian. Its design is both beautiful and perfectly functional. The Kelvin Timeline Enterprise was done by people who had no clue what they are doing. This one at least looks kind of like the original model. This episode is much more enjoyable than most of the previous episodes. The conclusion of several, but not all, story points is pretty satisfying, and the tech scene actually made me look forward to watching the second season, despite me not being satisfied with the fact that they have done visual changes to the USS Enterprise. On my scale from 0 to 10, where 0 is complete garbage, 10 is a masterpiece, and 5 is just average, I would give this episode 7 out of 10. This was the last Discovery video for a while. I plan to rewatch the whole first season and do quote-unquote proper videos about them during the break between the second and third season of the original series, just like I have done the animated series last year. And I must say that I'm curious if my rating will change with multiple viewings. These Monday videos were always done immediately after the first viewing, so I am looking forward in giving them a rewatch. Anyway, as always, these were just my opinions. Let me know what do you think about both this episode and Discovery as a whole. For a long time I thought that people who have seen TOS as the first one are the people who hate Discovery, and people who have started with the J.J. Abrams movies will love Discovery. But I met people who actually love TOS and they love also Discovery, just like people who hate the J.J. movies and hate the Discovery. So my theory was definitely wrong. I am still working, by the way, on the next video about the next episode from the Classic Star Trek show. I hope I will be able to upload it tomorrow. If not, I might upload something different. But thanks a lot for watching and see you very soon. Bye.